of these islands. Bless our sovereign King Charles III, William, Prince of Wales, and all the royal family. Give grace to all who exercise authority in our Commonwealth, that peace and happiness, truth and justice, religion and piety may be established among us. Especially, we pray for the Governor of our islands, the Premier, the Speaker of the Parliament, the Leader of the Opposition, Ministers of the Cabinet, ex officio members, members of the Parliament, the Chief Justice, and members of the Judiciary, that we may be enabled faithfully to perform the responsible duties of our high office. All this we ask for thy great name's sake. Let us say the Lord's Prayer together. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. The Lord bless us and keep us. The Lord make his face shine upon us and be gracious unto us. The Lord lift up the light of his countenance upon us and give us peace now and always. Amen.
Please be seated.
Administration of oaths or affirmations.
None.
Readings by the Honorable Speaker of messages and announcements.
None.
Presentation of petitions.
None.
Presentation of papers and of reports. Report of the Standing Business Committee, first meeting of the 2024-2025 session of the Cayman Islands Parliament.
I recognize the Honourable Premier.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning. Mr. Speaker, I beg to lay on the table of this Honourable Parliament the report of the Standing Business Committee for the first meeting of 2024-2025 session of the Cayman Islands Parliament.
So ordered. Does the Honourable Premier wish to speak thereto?
No, thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is self-explanatory, just to thank all of the members for their collaboration and participation.
Madam Premier, I note the hour. I would be grateful if you would move the customary suspension.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move the suspension of Standing Order 23.7 and 8 to allow the questions to come in after the hour of 11 a.m.
The question is that Standing Order 23.7 and 8 be suspended in order that questions may be asked up to the hour of 11 o'clock. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. I believe the ayes have it. Standing Order 23.7 and 8 are accordingly suspended.
Questions to the Honourable Ministers and members of Cabinet. The elected member for Savannah to ask the Honourable Minister of Planning, Agriculture, Housing, Infrastructure, Transport and Development. Question number 18.
I recognize the Honourable Minister of Planning, Agriculture, Housing, Infrastructure, Transport and Development.
No, he got.
Oh, I'm getting ahead of myself. I invite the Honourable Member for Savannah to ask the Honourable Minister of Planning, Agriculture, Housing, Infrastructure, Transport and Development, question number 18.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the question number 18, standing in my name, is asked of the Honourable Minister for Planning, Agriculture, Housing, Infrastructure, Transport and Development. Can the Honourable Minister provide an update on road and other safety measures proposed to be implemented for pedestrians, cyclists, and users of electric scooters?
I recognize the Honourable Minister of Planning, Agriculture, Housing, Infrastructure, Transport and Development to answer.
Mr. Speaker, the National Road Safety Committee, a collaboration which includes the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service, the Department of Vehicles and Driver's License, the National Roads Authority, and the Ministry of PI, has been active in pursuing to review to implement measures to enhance the road safety for all. Key initiatives is number one is the licensing and safety standards for electric scooters, establishing a proper license requirements for electric scooters users, mandating personal protective equipment such as reflective vests, helmets, adequate lighting on scooters and bicycles to improve visibility to reduce the risks. 2, infrastructure improvements, incorporating proper shoulders and or bike lanes in all new major road construction projects to provide designated spaces for cyclists and electric scooter use. Explore options to separate vehicle lanes from pedestrians and rider lanes, such as curbs and physical dividers, to enhance the safety for all road users. Speaker.
Supplementaries. The Honourable Member for Prospect.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to ask the Honourable Minister if he has any or can provide any updates in regards to roadworks that has been requested for Orchid Heights. The last email sent was November 19th, and Devon Road, and even cutting back on the back of Raven Avenue. This was requested for some time, and we were speaking about safety measures. I'm asking if the Honourable Minister would be able to provide me with any updates. And I'd also take this opportunity to thank the Honourable Minister for addressing that portion of road directly in the front of Underrun Red Bay and in the vicinity of the new Popeyes.
He could go a little further up the road too, it would help. Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, can I ask you just to repeat the name of the roads that she mentioned just now?
Orchid Heights, Raven Avenue,
Devon.
and Devon.
And Devon. Mr. Speaker, I assume that we're talking about safety measures for those roads, all right? Because that's what the question, soft shoulder works. Mr. Speaker, I can't be aware to say directly that those roads are part of what they're being listed, but I know overall they are looking at some. I know there are some that the member from Prospect had sent over for us to take a look at to do some repair works too. And as I mentioned in my speech earlier, they are going to be from here on out, we're looking at how we put bike lanes into some of these roads and maybe in calming measures and safety measures. So from here, well, from pretty much from time we set up that committee has been looking at all of the roads that we do from now on, how we can improve for walkers, riders, e-scooters, and everything else.
Further supplementary, the Honourable Member for Prospect.
Final question, Mr. Speaker, and thank you. Can the Honourable Minister just provide any updates of any plans for the Spot Straight, understanding that that is a strip of road that has been very topical, how much deaths have occurred on that road, and it has been placed in the public's domain that there's a proposal, or it's suggested that a roundabout would be put in the vicinity of Poindexter into Shamrock. Would he be able to provide an update with any proposed plans in dealing with the speed calming measures for that spot stretch, as we all know it as being?
Mr. Speaker, there's been several proposals for the Shamrock Road, and I know there's been several individuals that live on the Shamrock Road that have concerns, that have been asking for meetings to meet with the NRA and the committee group that we put together. So if the member is okay with that, I can put back something in writing to her directly on Shamrock. What are the proposals for that after their meeting with the everyone that lives on Shamrock that has some concerns and some ideas that they would love to propose also. It'll be a little bit far-fetched for me to actually put those out here without having to speak back to the committee and see what they have for there.
For the supplementary, the Honourable Member for Savannah.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just to say thanks to the minister. I know he's working very hard to resolve a lot of these issues, but we have been seeing too many accidents and too many, in fact, we're having fatalities now in regards to people on bicycles and these electric scooters, and I just would like to thank the minister for giving his update in regards to what measures will be taken. I thank you, sir.
People just need to slow down and stop driving stupidly. I'm forgetting I'm speaker right now. Honourable Minister, you have a response?
Mr. Speaker, I just want to thank the member for Savannah and the member for Prospect for their questions, and we continue to work hard for the community or for the whole Cayman Islands, and to try to make the road safety much more appealing and a lot better. And we would love to get to one day when we get to where we say as we're campaigning on road to zero fatalities, and hopefully one of these days we'll be able to get there. But again, I agree with you, people just need to take their time and not speed, but unfortunately that was part of it, I assume.
Sorry, Honourable Member for Georgetown East.
Thank you, sir.
Very delayed response.
Yes. Mr. Speaker, through you to the Minister, I wonder if he could tell us when they expect to have the licensing and standards for electronic scooters and the safety measures to be implemented.
Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'm hoping in the first quarter we can actually have some of that implemented and bring it back here. I'm assuming that we get full support from the House.
First quarter 2025.
I agree with you, sir.
Madam Clerk.
The elected member for West Bay Central to ask the Honourable Minister of Planning, Agriculture, Housing, Infrastructure, Transport and Development, question number 19.
I recognize the elected member for West Bay Central.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I stand to ask question number 19, standing in my name, to the Honourable Minister of Planning, Agriculture, Housing, Infrastructure, Transport and Development. Can the Honourable Minister explain why there has been no progress on the construction of Apple Blossom Affordable Home Development located in the constituency of West Bay Central since its groundbreaking in May of this year?
The Honourable Minister of Planning, Agriculture, Housing, Infrastructure, Transport and Development.
Mr. Speaker, I can assure you that the development of the new Birch Tree Height, formerly Apple Blossom subdivision, has been a continuous to be a priority for me and the ministry. I can confirm that since the groundbreaking ceremony in May, plans are progressing. Mr. Speaker, I am reliably informed by the National Housing Development that the subdivision plans were modified to provide a greater efficiency of the land use that will accommodate the 60 homes, but there will be a phased construction approach for the development, with the first phase consisting of the 14 homes. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Supplementaries. The Honourable Member for West Bay Central.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to ask the Honourable Minister, I know he said that there had been a modified plan and a phased approach. Can the Minister give a little bit more information as to when the 14 homes will actually start construction? Because last that I knew the reparcelization had already been completed and approved, and that's the reason why we broke ground. So I'm just wondering, this is quite concerning. This isn't just about affordable homes, but we actually have deplorable homes. And we have, I was just making notes here, I have 3 constituents who live in this area who are on demand oxygen. One of them who had to be transported last week to a hospital in the US, all relating to lung issues. This is no coincidence, and I would really like to see this a priority. So if the minister could just answer that, I would really be most grateful.
Honourable Minister, are you in a position to respond to that?
Mr. Speaker, yes, sir. Mr. Speaker, some of the delays that we've had with the, I keep calling it Apple Blossom because I know it better as Apple Blossom, but Apple Blossom site in West Bay was we had some kickback from some of the residents in the neighborhood, which the member of West Bay Central well know is aware of that. And it was about the storm water management sector of it. And I think the National Trust may have been owning part of the property to the back side of it and wanting to leave a section of the property to the back with a pond into it. And the neighbors were a little bit concerned that when we started to fill the property up, that they actually wrote into us about negotiating and trying to figure out how the water was going to run. And I think the member for West Bay Central actually met with some of the neighbors talking about that. That has been some of the delays that we've had of going back to recreate a whole new stormwater management for the property to make sure that not only those that are in Apple Blossom were protected, but the neighbors on the outside of that were not going to be affected, because they were saying that most of the water that runs off from them were running into the pond, part of the pond that we were actually filling in for the 60 homes. That's why we looked at it now to take it as a phased approach to say, okay, Mr. Speaker, the 14 homes that we wanted to start was to be able to transition the people from on the original site onto the new site. Mr. Speaker, there's nobody else that understands us down there more than me. I've been there, I've seen it, I've walked through it. I understand what's going on through it. Matter of fact, yes, it may not be moving at the pace that I want it to move at, but I agree with you that it has to be fixed. And yes, that's why we're going to move over there. And that's why we looked at it and said, look, let us cut it in 2 now. Let us get the 14 done so we can move. Mr. Speaker, I have tried my best to help those people, to try to get NAU involved in them, to try to help those people as much as they can, because I know the living that they're living in. I know that people are sitting there in oxygen. But I'm the only one man, only one person. And I've tried my best to how I can get it done. We've known that we've tried, and we know some of them are very reluctant to move. And some of them really wants to just move into a new home. We know that even that some of them may not be able to afford the homes. Mr. Speaker, that's why we try to create at least the own program. Speaker, we even talked about you have to own some of these homes to help these people. So I don't want nobody to go play politics on all 2 sides and think that one person is trying to bat the boat next to nobody else. Let us not go down the road and play politics with it, because I don't want to get in there. We are here to help the people. I know the people down there are struggling. I get the telephone calls every day from the people down in West Bay down there, asking. I just sent messages to planning this morning asking for updates on Apple Blossom site down there, because I want to get those people out of the situation that they're in. Mr. Speaker, I'll leave it like that and I'll wait to see what the next supplementary will be.
Honourable Member for West Bay Central.
Mr. Speaker, I have 2 supplementary questions, but I would like to just say for the record, I am not here to play politics. I am not here to grandstand. That's one of the reasons why I don't respond to half of these debates that we've had the last couple of days. Because at the end of the day, the issues are real, and whilst the minister may be receiving phone calls, it's in my area, I see it every single day. My job is to represent the people there, and my only question is to ask where things are at. You're saying that you have a phased approach because of the stormwater management. We know, you know, that the homes that have these individuals there now, yes, it's an issue, it's a safety issue. Can you please advise if you have to deal with the storm water management first, or if the 14 homes can be started while you're doing whatever reparcelization or whatever plans are taking place closer down to the pond? Because the issue isn't going, looking at my directions, it isn't going east. What we're looking at is in the west part of the development for the individuals who are currently living there right now. So if you could just let me know and let the constituents who are listening know if the phased approach will start anytime soon for those 14 homes.
Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I thought I may have answered that just now, but let me just go back over. Mr. Speaker, as I mentioned before, we have taken a phased approach to split it up to actually deal with the 14 homes now and not worried about the full build-out of the 60. Because the full build-out of the 60 was what was holding up everything. So we are looking at now to starting up with the first 14 so that we can transition the people from there over into the new homes. And then we can deal with the rest as we continue to move along. The storm water management actually will affect those that are part of the other number of lots that we're putting into. So yes, that's why we're saying, okay, while we work on the storm water management, we're going to look at delivering these 14 and separate that from there. So I just want to make sure I'm saying it clear that we're going to separate the 14 so we can start the 14 while we work on the stormwater management for the rest. Because I don't want the stormwater management to hold up the 14 and we can't deliver for the homes, the people down there.
Honourable Member for West Bay Central.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank the Honourable Minister for answering that question. And my final question relates, you spoke a bit about it, with the homes that are more up to the east of the development, the neighboring properties, which would be to the far end of Leona Lane or to the far end of Vibe Lane, so to the borders of the pond. I was just wondering, and this might not be something that you may have the answer to, but I'm going to still ask it. When they were filling up the pond or the area that still had a bit of water, the neighboring properties, they all, quite a few of them, I think it was 4 of them, their parcels, the marking of their parcels were completely removed. They can't even find their landmarks, and the fences have been taken down. I was just wondering if you could say if this is something that you are aware of and if it's something that NHDT has intentions to, one, reparcel and repair, because I know particularly 2 of the homes have young children, and because these fences have been removed, people are now traversing, even in cars, from the Apple Blossom development and trying to take a shortcut through to Leona Lane. So like I said, Minister, I'm not sure if you're aware of it, but I'd like to ask the question here today.
Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I've been aware about some of the boundary markers that need to be installed back in, but again, when they're layout, I understand that when the layout of the boundary markers are being set back, that NHDT will be putting those boundary markers in, that some of them have been knocked out from where the tractor was moving around, and they have agreed with the owners on the fencing. I can provide that back in writing. I'm not sure about that, but I'll find out from them.
Thank you. Madam Clerk. The Honourable Member for West Bay South.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wonder if the Honourable Minister could confirm, for the phased approach, the first 14 and then the 60, do you have adequate and sufficient budget for those now to build those?
Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, that's correct.
Madam Clerk.
The elected member for West Bay South to ask the Honourable Minister of Planning, Agriculture, Housing, Infrastructure, Transport and Development, question number 20.
I recognize the Honourable Member for West Bay South.
Good morning again, Mr. Speaker. I rise to ask the Minister for Planning, Agriculture, Housing, Infrastructure, Transport and Development, question number 20, standing in my name. Question. Given that supplementary funding was specifically approved in the last finance meeting on 11 October 2024, can the Honorable Minister provide a timeline for completion of a new concrete Morgan's Harbor dock in West Bay South?
Honorable Minister of Planning, Agriculture, Housing, Infrastructure, Transport and Development to answer.
Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to report that the project is progressing as planned. The business case has been approved. The construction documents are finalized, and the application for the Coastal Works license is under review by the Ministry of Sustainability. The timeline for the project as follows. The procurement process for the general contractor commenced on November the 29th on Bonfire. The bid submission will close on December the 20th with the evaluation of the process and submission of the evaluation report to the PAHI Entity Procurement Committee expected by December the 30th, and the government remains committed to delivering the essential infrastructure for the people of West Bay South. And we will continue to ensure that the process is carried out efficiently and with transparently. So, thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Supplementaries, the Honourable Member for West Bay South.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to the Minister for the answer. So that is the timeline for procurement, but assuming these dates are met, what is the timeline thereafter projected to complete the actual build?
Mr. Speaker, I can't answer that question until I get the Coastal Work license from Ministry of Sustainability. Once we get that, then we can be able to give better projections when it comes to timelines.
Supplementary, the Honourable Member for West Bay South.
Thank you, and thank you, Minister, for the answer. Have you gotten a timeline from the Minister for Sustainability on when the Coastal Works license will be issued?
Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I have not gotten a timeline from the Minister that's here, that's Sustainability is on now. I don't know if it's almost like I need to ask a supplementary question on the other side to the Minister that was over there to find out if she could give me a timeline on it, because I don't know anything about it until it gets out.
Honourable Member for West Bay Central, if you have a question.
I do actually have a question, Mr.
Right.
Speaker.
Because I don't want this back and forth between who has been minister and who is now minister. It doesn't take anything forward.
I appreciate that, Mr.
Yeah.
Speaker. At the same time, the beauty of democracy is that if we place ourselves in a position to ask questions, we can still allow our constituents
Honourable
to
Member, I don't need a lecture on that. If you have a question, please ask the question.
I have a question, Mr.
That's all
Speaker.
I'm asking.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to ask the Honourable Minister if he can advise when the application was submitted to the ministry, because up until when I left my role, there had not been an application submitted.
Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I cannot advise the exact date that it was sent over to her ministry at the time, but I am well aware I will be able to give the House an update later on that, if it's okay with you, sir.
Madam Clerk.
The elected member for Savannah to ask the Honourable Minister of Planning, Agriculture, Housing, Infrastructure, Transport and Development, question number 21.
I recognize the Honourable Member for Savannah.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to ask the Honourable Minister for Planning, Agricultural, Housing, Infrastructure, Transport and Development, question number 21 in my name. Can the Honourable Minister provide an update on the plans to relocate the bus shelter from its current location in the countryside area of Shamrock Road in Savannah? Thank you, sir.
I recognize the Honourable Minister of Planning, Agriculture, Housing, Infrastructure, Transport and Development to answer.
Mr. Speaker, following discussions with the member of Savannah, the National Roads Authority, the Public Transport Unit, the stakeholders and the ministry, it has been agreed that the new bus shelter will be located into the grass area within the median roundabout of the countryside shopping village. The plans for the new bus shelter includes exclusive bus access designated access points for the buses to enter and exit safely without disrupting the flow of traffic, 2, the capacity space for up to 3 buses to park at a time, and 3, a covered shelter, a modern covered structure to provide the protection and comfort for the public transport users. This relocation will improve accessibility for passengers, enhance the safety for road users, and support the continued development and efficiency for public transport infrastructure in the area. The relocation of the constructions are expected to be completed in the first quarter of 2025.
Supplementaries, the Honourable Member for Savannah.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just wanted to thank the Minister for that update. And I'm just merely trying to avoid any further accidents or deaths in our area, which has become a fast-growing community. And I do appreciate the Minister providing us with this full information this morning on the relocation of the bus shelter. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Madam Clerk.
Statements by the Honourable Ministers and members of the Cabinet.
I have authorized the delivery of 2 statements by the Honourable Premier relating to supplementary appropriations.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The first statement will be relating to DAL, Minister of District Administration and Lands. It's a Section 11.5 statement, as you indicated, and I thank you for the opportunity to bring this to the attention of this Honourable Parliament, the exceptional circumstances for the appropriation changes which have resulted in the supplementary appropriations initiated by the Minister of District Administration and Lands for 2024-2025 budget period. Mr. Speaker, Cabinet considered and approved the following requests for Section 11.5 appropriations in accordance with the Public Management Finance Act 2020 revision by the Minister of District Administration and Lands appropriation lines so as to satisfy the 2024-2025 expenditure needs as follows. EA 42, Cayman Brack and Little Cayman street lighting. Mr. Speaker, Cabinet approved the increase to this vote by $50,000 via Section 11.5 of the PMFA Act 2020 in order to facilitate the installation and in order to complete light pole installation along the Big Channel, Bluff Road, Clemenstine Drive, Myrtle Jane Drive, and Oscar Drive and Cayman Brack. The aforementioned increase of EA42 for the street lighting by the $50,000 was the result of a decrease in EI87, Minister of District Administration and Lands equity injection by the said $50,000. DAL 1, Policy Advice and Support to the Minister of District Administration and Lands. Mr. Speaker, this vote, DAL 1, was increased by $40,000 in 2024 and $160,000 in 2025 via Section 11.5 in order to create a role for a senior project manager within the ministry responsible for district administration, which was needed to manage and facilitate the timely completion of ongoing and upcoming major projects in Cayman Brack. Mr. Speaker, thank you for allowing me to explain these 2 exceptional circumstances which have resulted in the supplementary expenditure by virtue of Section 11.5 for the 24-25 budgetary years. Mr. Speaker, the second exceptional circumstance transaction incurred for 2024 related to the Ministry of Finance and Economic Development. As required by Section 11.6 of the PMFA Act 2020 revision, I make the statement to members of the Honourable House with respect to these exceptional circumstance transactions that was approved by the Cabinet for Finance and Economic Development during the 2024 financial year that ends on the 31st of December this year. Such transactions were approved pursuant to Section 11.5 of the PMFA. Mr. Speaker, there were 3 financial transactions that the Cabinet approved for the Minister of Finance and Economic Development. And they were: 1, an increase to the 2024 OE 54 Caribbean Catastrophic Risk Insurance Facility annual premium by $31,045. 2, an increase to OE 9 Caribbean Economic Community, or CARICOM, fees for approximately $57,279. And 3, a compensating reduction to FED1, Policy Advice and Ministerial Services, being an aggregate sum of $88,324. Mr. Speaker, the exceptional circumstance transactions did not result in an impact on the government's forecast financial results and position for the 2024 financial year. As the appropriation changes were merely a transfer of funds within the same operating expenditure category. OE 54, Caribbean Catastrophic Risk Insurance Facility, annual premium. During the financial year, Cabinet approved this increase of $31,045 to OE 54, the Caribbean Catastrophic Risk Insurance Facility, annual premium appropriation. Mr. Speaker, the Cayman Islands is a founding member of the Caribbean Catastrophic Risk Insurance Facility, or CRIF, which provides for a cash payout within 14 days of a covered major national catastrophe. The payout is based on the severity of the hurricane and losses caused by a hurricane or an earthquake, thereby provide member countries with the financial means to respond quickly to ease the social and economic hardships experienced after such disasters. During 2024, Mr. Speaker, the annual premium for CRIF increased by $1.037 million. The Minister of Finance did not have sufficient funds in the 2024 OE 54 Caribbean Catastrophic Risk Insurance Facility annual premium appropriation to fully cover the expenditure increase, but had sufficient savings in 2024 FED1 Policy Advice and Ministerial Services appropriation to cover the funding shortfall. OE 9 Caribbean Economic Community, otherwise known as CARICOM, also saw an increase in the fees. And Mr. Speaker, it's a group of 20 countries, as you would know, that was established back in 1973 and focuses on strengthening economic integration, foreign policy coordination, human and social development, and security within the member countries. The Cayman Islands is an associate member of CARICOM. On the 4th of June 2024, CARICOM held its 38th intersession meeting of the Conference of Heads Government. At that time, it was approved for member states' funded core budget of the Caribbean Community Secretariat. The budget included an increase in the members' contribution of $208,000, and this was the first increase, Mr. Speaker, for us since 2000. Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Finance, again, did not have sufficient funds in OE9, the Caribbean Economic Community, CARICOM fees appropriation, to fully cover the expenditure increase, but had sufficient savings in FED1 Policy Advice and Ministerial Services appropriation to cover this said shortfall. The Cayman Islands is a founding member of, I beg your pardon, Mr. Speaker, the Cayman Islands is an associate member of the CARICOM, and we have seen great benefits since the contribution thereof, and we thought it was prudent for us to continue making the contribution. Mr. Speaker, as you would know, the appropriation funding that was required for OE 54 and OE 9 meets the definition of an exceptional circumstance, and that it increased the insurance premium for CRIF and the increase to CARICOM that were not known by the Minister of Finance at the time of the 2024 budget was prepared in December 2023, and therefore the increase in cost was beyond the control of the Ministry and indeed Cabinet. The government could be exposed for significant financial risk, potential legal liabilities and disruption in services if it did not meet the paid increase to CREF insurance premiums. The government could also potentially lose its member benefits if it does not keep up with its contribution to CARICOM. And fourthly, the increase in insurance premium and the CARICOM contributions were recently presented to the Minister of Finance, therefore making it impractical to request a supplementary funding via Section 12 of the Public Management Finance Act. Mr. Speaker, as previously stated, the exceptional circumstance transaction will not have an impact on the government's forecast, financial results, and its position for 2024 financial year, or the principles of the responsible financial management, as they're merely a transfer of the funds within the same appropriations expenditure category and do not increase the overall planned expenditure of the ministry or indeed the government. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, I thank you for allowing me to explain these exceptional circumstance transactions which were approved by the Cabinet for the Ministry of Finance and Economic Development for the 2024 financial year. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I have also given leave to the honourable member for border control, labour and culture, sustainability and climate resiliency and wellness to make a statement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Speaker, we may have seen communication even outside this Parliament in other domains in terms of trying to impute.
Honourable Minister, I've given you leave to make a statement, not
yes,
to
sir.
Not to make a, not to engage in debate.
Okay, thank you for that steer. It's probably wise. Mr. Speaker, I would like to make a statement in response to a message circulating on social media from the former Minister of Sustainability and Climate Resiliency, the Honourable Catherine Ebanks-Wilkes, MP. Mr. Speaker, the member should be well aware of the potential termination costs of the existing Regen project agreement, having brought the paper to terminate the project to Cabinet. Mr. Speaker, as the exit of the project agreement has not been finalized, it would be ill-advised to discuss specific details at this time, as the member should be well aware. Once the government is in a position to share the final details, it will do so. I would like to assure the Caymanian public that the government's objectives is the exit of the project agreement is that the best interests of our people are protected. This is of paramount importance. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I've also given leave to the Honourable Minister of Youth, Sports and Heritage to make a statement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I sent a message to him, but he's still bringing it up. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to provide an overview of the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Heritage and the achievements ongoing activities and upcoming plans. But before I do that, Mr. Speaker, I want to take this opportunity to recognize Mr. Jordan Crooks for his achievement yesterday in the 100-meter freestyle, where he won a bronze medal on behalf of the Cayman Islands. The World Championship that he won a couple of years ago, he hasn't actually swam in that race yet, so we're expecting great things from him in that one as well, too, sir. Mr. Speaker, I would like to take this opportunity to recognize and also acknowledge the many athletic accomplishments, including our showing at the Crifter Games, the Paris Olympics, Great Britain Summers Championship, and so many other athletic performance platforms this year. To our young people, from our representation with the Caymanian as Dean of CARICOM and the most recently selected Proud of Them awardees, these young people not only represent the Cayman Islands in local and international forums, but they unite the people of our country. And this has become evident as we hear more from our young people and their aspirations, but also their desire to learn more about their cultural heritage, promoting and engaging and sharing their excitement, love, support, and bringing about national pride. Mr. Speaker, I am extremely proud of the people and our beautiful Cayman Islands. Mr. Speaker, now to the works of the core ministry, its government departments and SAGCs. From the beginning of this year to present, the ministry has accomplished numerous achievements ranging from policy review and development, programming and community initiatives and events, to development and enhancement of facilities. These initiatives have consistently supported and advanced the ministry's key priorities, which are talent identification and development, enhancement and empowerment of youth, awareness and preservation of culture and heritage, and a new priority introduced just this year, promoting an active and healthy lifestyle for all. The ministry and its entities are deeply involved in the review of various national and organizational policies, developing new initiatives, organizing numerous community events, focusing on preserving our heritage, supporting intergeneration programs, enhancing sports, promoting a healthy lifestyle, and fostering youth development and empowerment, just to name a few. Recognizing the need for promoting active and healthy living in the community, the ministry and its entities have already begun working and restructuring under this new priority and look forward to enhancing these efforts throughout the remainder of 2024 into 2025. Having a broad overview, Mr. Speaker, I would now like to share some specific accomplishments with this Honourable House. Each of these achievements not only aligns with the ministry's 4 priorities, but also supports the Cayman Islands government broad outcomes. At the ministry level, noteworthy achievements for 2024 includes the provision of over 100 grants being awarded in the areas of youth, sports, and heritage, totaling over $600,000 to date. It is grants of this nature that provides support and assistance to individuals, associations, and programs in our communities, benefiting our Caymanians by empowering and developing them in various ways. Mr. Speaker, in addition to the grants indicated above, the ministry is also pleased to continue to offer funding to each of our 8 focus sports in the sum of $150,000 each annually. We have also commenced the revision of the National Youth and the National Sports Policy involving broad stakeholder engagement, which included individuals from across all relevant sectors, focus groups, a national survey, and a comprehensive 3-day workshop. I'm pleased to report that the ministry is in the process of now reviewing each of the drafted policies, which will be open for public consultation before being finalized and presented to Cabinet. We recognize that it seems that it's taken some time, but these policies are important to our country and must be done with our current circumstances in mind, but provide a long-term vision and plan for both the youth and the sports sector. In May of this year, Mr. Speaker, the ministry successfully reintroduced and celebrated emancipation events for the first time in 62 years, both in Grand Cayman and Cayman Brac. And I want to take a pause to thank the former minister for bringing about this initiative and the paper to cabinet and getting it approved there as well. It is also important to note that 5 new national symbols were approved by cabinet as we continue to preserve our heritage and build national pride. With this, the ministry launched Where We From campaign to raise awareness and appreciation to the national dish, drink, dessert, dress, and dance. Mr. Speaker, we commence the publication of Caymanian Heritage books aimed at educating and bringing awareness to Caymanian heritage. The first book in the series, titled Our National Heroes, highlights information of Cayman's national heroes, and we are pleased to have provided copies to all schools, public and private, and the libraries. And I'm happy to share that we're in the process of collaborating with local artists for the creation of another book on emancipation. The Intergenerational Hub has been utilized as a multifunction space for various community and organization activities and programs. These include youth programs, intergenerational programs, exercise and wellness classes for seniors and women, art and craft classes, hosting of events, staff training, and conference meetings. In addition, this location is the home for a youth services unit and some ministry staff. As a key participant in Cayman Day, UK, the ministry contributed valuable input and time to ensuring that the cultural aspects of our Caymanian cultural heritage was well displayed and engaging to its participants. Mr. Speaker, as I speak of heritage, I would like to thank the Cayman Islands folk singers on their efforts through community engagements and concerts in helping us preserve our heritage through folk songs. The stories that they tell through songs take us back in time and brings about fond memories of our past. Since purchasing the 50-meter and the 25-meter pool for the new Cayman Islands Aquatic Center in December 2023, materials and supplies began arriving on the islands in July 2024, and the final shipment is due in January 2025, and ground and installation works will begin in earnest in early 2025. The materials which have arrived thus far are part of the 2024 U.S. Olympic swimming trials held in Indianapolis, ensuring that the Cayman Islands benefit from state-of-the-art pools in the new aquatic center. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, the ministry continues to participate in cross-governmental and international collaborations with recent contributions that included providing valuable feedback on the UNESCO Knowledge Product on Youth, Peace and Security, the Sexual Harassment Bill, and aligning ministry initiatives with the UN Sustainable Development Goals, to name a few. Mr. Speaker, these are just some of the works of the core ministry, led by a very passionate, creative, and visionary chief officer and the ministry team. In addition to the core ministry's accomplishments, I would also like to briefly highlight our entities, which is the Department of Sports and Youth Services, for the continued efforts in providing important services to our community. The Department of Sports has continued to expand school programs through collaboration with the Department of Education Services, offer community programs inclusive of Senior Sports Day, basketball leagues and clinics, youth camps, fitness activities for aging population and women, and to enhance participation and player development at all levels. In addition to these achievements, I wish to highlight the restructuring of the department that is now underway to take a more holistic and inclusive approach, including a focus on community prevention and wellness through sports. The Department of Sports recognizes the important role they play to support a healthy and active lifestyle for all ages, mental and physical well-being, and the prevention of certain medical issues, all through sports. This new direction and initiative will benefit all persons at all ages in our community as we move towards a Fitness for Life plan. Mr. Speaker, the Youth Services Unit has also continued to grow and develop a small unit of only 8 Caymanians who in the past year has successfully hosted a youth empowerment symposium on economic and social empowerment featuring a prominent young person. They provided leadership opportunities through the CARICOM Youth Ambassadors Program with representatives adding regional summits. The Young Persons and National Youth Commission representative also participated in a virtual summit covering topics like politics, leadership, and mental health. They have recognized outstanding youth through the Proud of Them initiatives, provided an intergenerational summer camp and ongoing intergenerational services, and encouraging the interaction and experience for all ages. Mr. Speaker, our SAGCs in the past year have also been busy and have made many strides, and I wish to make mention of some of their outstanding work. The National Gallery Cayman Islands and their renowned art education program continues to thrive with established programs and initiatives such as Art on the Road, Walker's Art Club, Art Haven, school-based tours, and multiple unique exhibitions. The National Gallery has led over 305 educational sessions, reaching a staggering 3,745 students across all 3 islands in the first 3 quarters of this year alone. They've conducted free school bus tours, connecting over 1,000 students with Caymanian culture through art, and displayed 12 unique exhibitions across 5 locations on Grand Cayman, Cayman Brac, and Little Cayman, attracting over 15,000 visitors. I would take this opportunity to invite the public to visit the National Gallery and participate in the various programs that they offer as well, too, Mr. Speaker. The Cayman Islands National Museum also successfully curated captivating exhibits, including honoring national hero and songwriter Leela Ross-Shire, another commemorating the return of Emancipation Day, and an exhibit reflecting Hurricane Ivan and the importance of hurricane preparedness. I would also invite the public to stop by the museum and learn more about the important facts of our heritage. In addition to these exhibits and Emancipation Day activities, the Emancipation Day activities included a drum circle and a portrait competition, engaging the community in celebrating the festivities with this reintroduced holiday. They also offer regular Lukia events during the week, allowing artisans to display their magnificent work and for persons to stop by to buy a delicious plate of local food. Lastly, demonstrating the commitment to preserving the Caymanian heritage with the support from the board members, the museum was able to secure 100 valuable books before disposal by the Cayman Islands Law School. This ensures the preservation of these important resources for future generations, and I would like to thank them for these efforts, Mr. Speaker. Last in the museum, Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to inform and welcome the recently appointed director who brings a wealth of knowledge, qualifications, and experience to guide the museum forward. Finally, I would also like to bring to the attention of this Honorable House several key projects, capital projects by the ministry. These include capital works such as installation of CCTV cameras at our sporting facilities, financial support for a new West Bay 5-a-side court, procurement and upcoming installation of ball catch nets at 5 facilities, Edbush, Annex, Haigbaden, Ronald Forbes, and East End, which was completed very recently. The Cayman Islands Aquatic Center previously mentioned, upgrades to the basketball court in East End, which has now been refenced, provided with new hoops and resurfaced to not only accommodate basketball, but also pickleball. Completion of hydraulic lifts to the new lighting system at the Truman Borden Sports Complex. Ongoing upgrades, development and maintenance at all of the ministry facilities. Renovation of the Pink House, a historical site on Gorin Avenue. Plans for the expansion and development of the Donovan Rankin playing field in East End to include change rooms, restrooms, and a grandstand. Plans for the renovation and expansion of the Dixon Park in East End. And this coming Saturday, Mr. Speaker, the reopening of the former senior citizen home in East End, which will be used as an intergenerational cottage for the Eastern districts. The grand opening will be held on December 14th at 3:30, and all is invited. All members of this House is especially invited. Mr. Speaker, our endeavors are not achievable without the support from our other ministries, and it's through this partnership and collaboration that we are able to achieve more in our communities. One such example is the work being undertaken for the rebuild of the dock in East End Heritage Field with the Ministry of Planning, Agriculture, Housing, Infrastructure, Transport, and Development. Also, I'd wish to thank PWD for their ongoing support and expertise in a number of projects that we are working on. Mr. Speaker, while we have accomplished much, the Ministry is mindful that there is still much work to do in these subject areas. For the remainder of the year and for 2025, the Ministry is committed to ensuring it continues to support efforts by increasing the district's sports and youth activities alongside intergenerational programming, continued restructuring and enhancement of the Department of Sports, review of the management of aspects of our heritage as it relates to the Ministry in the Cayman Islands, to ensure that this era this subject area has the support and attention that is necessary. And of partnerships, the ministry would also be embarking on more private sector partnerships to return historical items pertinent to Cayman's heritage, collaborating for increased visibility in ministries and its entities' initiatives, improve sporting facilities and competitions, as well as create new opportunities for artisans through academic and exhibit experience. I also want to acknowledge our new entities recently transferred to us, the Genders Affairs Unit and the National Drug Council. We are very early in the transition of these two entities, but I am eager to work with them to ensure the achievement of their goals for the Cayman Islands. Mr. Speaker, as this Honourable House has heard, the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Heritage has been very busy, continuously working to achieve the broad outcomes and the Ministry's priorities. The efforts and work can be seen in the community, and I wish to acknowledge and extend my heartfelt appreciation to the Chief Officer and the ministerial team, the entities, and the SAGCs under the Ministry for their hard work and dedication and passion. The Ministry will continue to work for the people of these islands, and we look forward to seeing what's to come in the coming months. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and to everyone for your valuable time and attention, but more importantly, for your support to our programs and services. God bless.
Madam Clerk?
Personal explanations.
None.
Obituary and other ceremonial speeches.
None.
Raising of matters of privileges.
None.
Government business. Bills, second reading. Older Persons Amendment Bill 2024, continuation of debate.
Does any other member wish to speak? The Honourable Member for West Bay West.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is an important bill for the country. Our population has grown, and we have an aging population. Mr. Speaker, just in a few weeks' time, I will celebrate my 70th birthday, God willing. So I'm in that category now. Not a long time, but I am in it. But with that comes knowledge and wisdom and experience. Mr. Speaker, I listened to the plea from the Leader of the Opposition, and he was certainly on target. We have to find a way to do more for our seniors, to protect them better, to ensure that their livable conditions in the home, for instance, is just that, livable. Mr. Speaker, for one that I'm very familiar with, their housing stock is in very bad shape. Many of them, far too many of them. And the cost to repair is a maddening state. People seem to have gone crazy with how they expect to charge. They no longer want to work and be paid $20, $25, $30, $40 per hour. Mr. Speaker, they talk about job work these days for $400, $1,000 when it's only a few hours of work. As I said, it's a maddening state. The cost of living is hitting all of us very hard. And our seniors who only live on the NAU assistance have it very, very difficult. We would like to see that this is increased. As I said yesterday, when I came here senior people, poor people who only got $25. And as I said, they got that only if they voted for the right person. We are at now $12.50. That's not the only benefit they get, but that's what they go to the shop with. And that is what I'm talking about. That aspect of their life, the cost of living. Mr. Speaker, you know as well as I do, and other members, we've passed motions, we've talked, we've begged, we've shown how our people continue to suffer through these extremely high costs of living items. And I don't know, but we must take the bull by the horn and do some things that safeguard our families' little income. This is not an easy task, we know, as we import everything and costs of purchasing, shipping within the countries we purchase and order from, and then shipping to us. These costs fueled, they say, by the effects of the pandemic. That is no doubt a reality. We face high costs, and our seniors suffer it most because they do not have the kind of salary other people have, and they depend on that NAU assistance. We'd like to see it rise to what we believe is the poor people mark. Whether we can do so as a government, we'll have to wait and see. However, I must implore on all who sell goods to charge for their goods with a heart. As I said, a fact is our seniors have to eat and live comfortably. And to be hungry, have no lights, and you know that there are people, seniors, that are living in this day and age in Cayman without electricity, can't pay the bill. And if an MP can't help, and somehow they're not getting from NAU to help, and what happens to them? To be hungry, to have no lights, meaning they don't have no running water, no air conditioning, not even a fan, because they have no electricity, even for our hot midsummer nights. Their homes are badly in need of repair. And we cannot allow bureaucracy to slow down needed repairs. And that is what is happening to us. Too much bureaucracy that civil servants have to endure. And we put it there, talking about good governance. Good governance? People starve on you? People, roofs leaking? Do people realize what that is? I had to grow up with it. Slip my floor bed on the big table grandma had, roof leaking. I know what it is. I went through it. I feel it. And it's importantly, Mr. Speaker, and very vexing, is the charges of cost I come across from some construction, because it seems it's no more, as I said, hourly or a daily paid rate today. When you need such work done, you are told, we do job work. That's what we are told. and you compare the two different costs, what should be a good salary for hourly paid people, you will see how much over and above the job work, and sometimes ridiculously so, above a properly paid day's pay. I don't know how much we can do about it because we are a free enterprise country. We're not unionized. And so people can do mostly as they please. I beg. Some of the rates and costs I hear of and experience will drive our seniors and poor people unable to build, or our seniors to renovate and repair, and even to do some of what should be quick and not difficult work. And all this will do, Mr. Speaker, is to drive down the standard, the good standard of living we've been used to, especially for the built housing stock, which many seniors have, is old. When you check it, they are old homes. And we will get a worse standard of living because of the need for repairs. As I said, a leaking roof is not a good thing. And we seem to get bogged down far too much. We put these systems in place, and civil servants have to abide by them, or they get written up by Auditor General. Well, you know the position I used to take, Mr. Speaker. I didn't care anything about Auditor General. They lived in a good house. They come in, we pay them well, and they come here to write. If they don't like you, they will write bad about you. But I'll stand here too and criticize them when I have to. Tit for tat. That's what they got from me. But we got the job done. That's what is important. Now, I don't expect that from the civil servants because they are contracted officers by a higher authority. I have a higher authority too, and that is the people that vote for me. That is the higher authority. That, to me, is what matters. So, at this point, I plead to one and all who have to do this work to be understanding that these Cayman Islands do not consist of all rich people. There are old, and as I said, we have an aging population, old and poor people who need work done and are willing to pay. And government can help. We vote certain funds, which, when you find out what the cost is now, from what it is maybe 3 years ago, it's probably 50% more. And that's not just materials I'm talking about what people are charging you. No conscience, it seems to me. And as I said, our islands do not consist of rich people. Many, yeah. But our oldest aging people are not. And when they need repairs or in addition to their home, which they can't pay for because of these so-called job work, which don't mean, Mr. Speaker, that it gets done quickly, Oh, no. But certainly costs more than an honest day's pay for an honest day's work. It is something that is not good. Not good, Mr. Speaker. Let me move on, Mr. Speaker. At my public meeting recently, I spoke about my strong support for the establishment of a dedicated department for older persons. I talked to the right people about it. And that would be a department that embodies a focus on the unique needs and contributions of our senior citizens. Currently, older persons are categorized under children and family services, which does not reflect, from my point of view anyway, the distinct challenges and requirements we face as we grow older. And as I'm saying that, and I'm 70, I really don't think I'm old. But I mix. I know I have senior citizens, not just in West Bay, throughout this country. We know the challenges. We feel them ourselves. And so as a senior person, I have personally witnessed the obstacles older adults encounter in accessing comprehensive care and support. And while I certainly appreciate recent amendments and the attempts made by the ministry aimed at improving the situation, I do believe that bold steps must be taken to ensure the effectiveness of this initiative. And I'm wondering, just within a couple of months, how much that could be done. Because the House will, as I said yesterday, we will prorogue soon, we will dissolve soon. I believe the creation of a standalone older person department is not merely beneficial, it is essential. Such centralizing oversight, I think, will help eliminate the neglect and mismanagement that often arise when responsibilities are dispersed among various agencies. So a dedicated department would streamline services, or could streamline services, enabling our older individuals to access the support they need without confusion or unnecessary delays. Right now, they have to go here, go there, and go everywhere to get the services that they need. At a time when some are immobile, most of them, they can't use computer to access what is now becoming the regular. You got it on your computer. You got it on your computer. Oh yeah? iPad, they can't. And yet, as I said, nearly everything that we've been doing, because we want government to be as smart as possible, and we think that that's the way. But what then about our older people that can't access these things? Where do we sit with them and meet with them? And that means getting staff in our communities. We don't want to increase the civil service, but we do need people going out to where our old people is at. We need them working, whether you call them Kodaks or whatever you call them, whatever name you give them. We need people. We don't need people just go and take a photo, a picture, or dress up. No. And we do have some that we have that works. No two ways about that. We're very much appreciative of what they do. But I believe it's time for a more holistic approach in our communities. Historically, the management of services for older persons was concentrated on clinical needs or those who are particularly vulnerable. And I believe that such a new department would embrace or could embrace a broader perspective, taking into account the well-being of all older persons, all of them, regardless of their economic or social status. And from my own experience, I know that our needs extends far beyond health care. We hear about the cost of the health care. Yes. Older persons require programs that enhance their social, emotional, and psychological well-being. A dedicated department, I believe, Mr. Speaker, can implement such holistic care strategies which would significantly improve quality of life and foster greater independence from them. And you know, when I say independence, don't think that our old people want people just to come and do something for them. They go until they can't go no more. They are too independent. My mother died in 2016, 92. And she was in bed for about 8 years. My mother was a person, when she could work, she worked 2 jobs, of course, to help to raise me because I come from a one-parent family. She didn't want people to do things for her. We had to stop. When she could not move any longer, I asked God, why? Knowing how independent she was. Why? When she couldn't move, I come to realize it was much of a blessing because I could keep track of her. If she could move, 92 or not, she would have been going. They are independent. They don't want people just to come to do things. So we need to do things to help foster that ingrained attitude of theirs. So, Mr. Speaker, to further empower our community, I propose the appointment of a dedicated person, whatever you call them, for older persons. And that role would serve as a vital bridge between older citizens and the government, ensuring that their voices are heard even in policy-making processes, because that person would advocate for rights and address pressing issues such as discrimination and inadequate services. I understand, Mr. Speaker, I know of the financial aspects. I understand there would be concerns regarding resource allocation for a standalone department. However, the long-term benefits, improved service delivery, enhanced quality of life, and empowered senior citizens would far outweigh any initial investments. And I am talking about this, but I believe there were proposals put forward some time ago by the Department of Children's and Family Services. I don't know what happened to that, but maybe that is something about going dust. Maybe we need to find it or get back to the people that put it together and deal with it. So in conclusion on this, Mr. Speaker, establishing, though, a dedicated older persons department with the vital staff, I think is crucial for fostering a more inclusive society, more inclusive community. And I urge us to take these suggestions seriously as we strive for meaningful progress for older persons in our community. Mr. Speaker, I want to put on record my sincere appreciation of the work done by the present ministry, the present department, led by, I think, by Ms. Mendoza Williams, in the House here today, chamber, and the care and attention she gives to the issues. Also, we must be very thankful for the various efforts made by Ms. Seymour of plans and initiatives and her foresight plans and initiatives she proposes. And as I said, the ministry, the work they do, I'm glad that we have Chief Officer that opens her door to me as Parliamentary Secretary, and I can talk with her. I can talk to Ms. Williams and Ms. Seymour. Ms. Seymour does a great job. This is not a paid position. It's in her heart, I know. She worked for me when we had community development. But she knows the fight that we had to get things done, because social development was always the bastard child in the government. You can't get money. What are you doing with our money? No, forget when we tried to get the sports field, our first facility. I left cabinet that day with tears in my eyes when they were told $3 million. Are you mad? While we had already agreed in caucus. I said, yeah, but another easy push down. I went this and thinking, named it, came back the next week, you know, heard Graham, pass. I could go on ad infinitum on these issues about how social development was treated. And I know a little bit about it from Ms. Hilton days, because she was the star that made things happen for children's services in this country. Now, some of those children, like me, are in the forefront. We now are our own safeguards. The big trees that shaded us, the big trees that protected us, they're gone. We are now the vanguard. We are now the ones. Oh, I hope I don't die now, though, but anyway, it is us next. So we have to do what we can for our people. These persons that I named out are very interested in the welfare of our seniors, and as a government, we certainly are thankful for their work. At my public meeting, Mr. Speaker, I also spoke about the aging population and the need for more residential care. The growing number of older persons in our islands requires a proactive approach to ensuring their well-being and dignity. Refurbishing existing residential care facilities and creating additional space is critical for meeting the needs of our population. Key reasons, Mr. Speaker, why this should be a national priority are the Cayman Islands, like much of the world, is experiencing a demographic shift with an increasing number of older persons. And that demographic requires adequate residential care services to ensure that the most vulnerable among them, those unable to live independently, have access to safe and a supportive environment. That's why we took time. That's why we rushed for the opening of the mental health facility, so that they have a decent place to live independently, because many don't. And would be a supportive environment for them. All the persons who can no longer manage living in their own home deserve environments that prioritize their dignity, comfort, and their individuality, because they still have that. Updated and modern residential care units and care services will provide comfortable living spaces, accessibility or mobility challenges, facilities, Mr. Speaker, that foster a sense of community and belonging. They'll be together in a place, they'll meet others. And I know, because I have a sister who worked over 30 years. Government treats her good, yes. But I know she longed to be amongst people that she can do things and talk to people about. And without proper facilities, older persons face neglect. That is one of the big things. They face neglect in their little home if they're living with some children. Some children only looking to see if they got that NAU. They know that payday better than me. They know it. And they don't treat the parents bad. Thank God. I'm not going to say that it's as widespread as some people might want to push it, because I do know too there are those that take care of their own. And then there are us. There is us. Us, the representatives that they call on. And we have to drive them. We have to pick them up. We have to go get medicine for them. We have to go to the shop for them. I went the other night to the shop. For one, and what they say I was doing, peeing somewhere public. You imagine? That's what you go through as a representative. The lies that they tell on you. You can't go to the supermarket now as a representative. Without proper facilities, older persons face neglect. Yes, they face substandard living conditions which negatively affect their quality of life. And our current residential care facilities need to be upgraded to meet modern health, safety, and caregiving standards. Golden Age Home in West Bay, I see they took down my name off the sign. Put up something very bland. I believe I can ask for it to be put back though. And that was built long time before we turned it into the good home it is. But it has work to be done. It's limited. Work to be done to it. And refurbishment ensures compliance with the standards, creating safe spaces for our old residents to live and the staff to work, because we forget that we have to depend on outside people. If not 99, if not 100%, it's 99% to take care of our seniors in those homes and take care of them in the house too. Yes. So we just can't just throw them around. They have to have a safe place to work. And many of our oldest persons require specialized care for conditions, Mr. Speaker, such as dementia, diabetes, cardiovascular diseases. Additional residential care facilities with trained staff and proper medical infrastructure are essential to address these needs effectively. Not all families are equipped to provide full-time care for their aging loved ones, and government does step in and help. But help, especially for those with complex medical or personal needs. One gripe I have, cynical. You get assistance, you get qualified, they need assistance, they have it. But the person that getting who don't have anything, they got to get help from NAU. Cynical says, you got to pay the bill first. I mean, this really vexes me. How in the world is anyone that don't have any money got to put out the money first? What happens is that the staff he has to wait probably 2 weeks before they get paid. Those persons paying rent, paying transport, paying their own bills. We have to change this, honorable members. We have to change it. How in the world? How in the world? That a person with no salary, sick, gonna come. That's why I'm talking so hard, so I can move up and down. How? And I've talked to them. I understood the premise behind that happening. What was happening, certain family members were getting the checks and was not paying. That's what was happening. And so they took this drastic one. But you don't have to be that way. Not everybody's like that. Find a way to deal with them, but don't destroy a system that is meant to help people. And is not helping people right now. As good as the whole cynical idea is, and it works, except for things like that. We have to change it. Dear friends, we have to change that. It's not helping, it's causing a lot of problems in the homes where that is happening. So the expanded, Mr. Speaker, residential care services offer families that peace of mind, knowing their loved ones are in supportive and professional environment. And look what else happens. All the persons who lack access to appropriate residential care often now have to turn to hospitals for long-term care. They're taking up the space in the hospitals too, which strains our healthcare resources. And we have to be constantly calling up the hospital, calling up Mr. Lizette, say, please talk to the doctor and keep this person there a week longer, 2 weeks longer, because they can't be helped at home. Can't be helped. If they had the centers I'm talking about, they could be sent there and taken care of. So, dedicated residential facilities can alleviate that burden by offering appropriate long-term and palliative care options. By refurbishing and expanding our residential care services, we'll create 2 job opportunities for Caymanians, we hope, interested in healthcare, caregiving, and facility management. Mind you, Mr. Speaker, that's a problem we had because our young people don't want to go there. They don't want to go clean any old person. They don't want to do it. Some of them that I know are strong, healthy individuals could be doing so, but they don't want to do it. Just like we didn't have them, they want to go in a garbage truck. They don't think that is good, that's below them. But with some pushing for better education of their surrounding, their environment, they will soon come to understand that these things can offer a good career where they can contribute to the local economy. Thank God we still have the old people that can talk to us, tell us a little bit about our history and how to be more compassionate. As the population ages, the demands for residential care services will continue to grow. And speaking, Mr. Speaker, about how the older persons know where we come from. As I go through the district of West Bay, I say West Bay because I know West Bay better. Kurt knew Georgetown better. I knew West Bay better. You knew Georgetown better too, Mr. Speaker. I know West Bay better. I can only speak mostly from that. But as I go through the various avenues and roads, whole streets, all the old people are gone. Go down Watercourse Road. Go South Church Street. I don't know of one of the seniors there is there anymore. From the 4-way stop up to the police station. All of them. My in-laws, others. Gone. This year will be the third year I have my Christmas seniors event. And of course, Mr. Speaker, not one of the original 22, I think it was, that met at my house for the first one is there. They're all gone. All gone. Mind you, some of them didn't vote for me after all, you know. Mr. Speaker, I spoke at our meeting, and I did broach the subject before. I've talked with our chief officer, and I've talked to Ms. Williams. I didn't get the chance to talk to Ms. Seymour about it yet, but there are two areas in West Bay that I'm looking at. John Silver's Inn, which is about 12 rooms and house space to expand. Still a good building. We could be utilizing that, renovating that for a senior citizen's home. There is a home belonging to government on Birch Tree Hill Road, which has a lot of property, and that's a 2 or 3 bedroom house now, but it has place to build. Could probably put 25 rooms there. And while I am conducting an exercise with trying to conduct with them the plan for a new high school, I've thrown that into the mix. The possibilities for a new seniors residential care home. And hopefully we'll get something done. If they went with John Silver's, it's a much quicker exercise. Some renovation, right staffing, of course, right for other facilities that would have to be added, but that was a hotel, so much of it is still in existence, facilities I'm talking about. Of course, we would have to add to it, and hopefully we could move faster. Of course, funds have to be voted. That sort of exercise has not been done. But I want to talk to the community and get their feedback, what they see, what they feel about it. So, refurbishing and creating additional residential care services for older persons in the islands is not just a practical necessity, but also, as far as I'm concerned, a moral imperative. It ensures that our older persons live with dignity and receive the care they need while preparing the islands for the challenges and opportunities of an aging population. That kind of investment reflects the values of respect, inclusion, and community central to what we knew as our Caymanian society. Mr. Speaker, I've been longer than I wanted to be, but I did have quite much that I wanted to put on record. And so, Mr. Speaker, I thank you very much for your indulgence and that of the House. I do want to again thank the Minister for bringing this law. And I know how hard he worked to complete it, to go through it, so that he understood what it was all about, because he was taking over a new subject. I hadn't been involved except for small bits and pieces at caucus time, but he took the bull by the horn and said, we have to do this now and get it done, get it completed, make the shifts that are needed in the bill. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Does any other member wish to speak? The member for Savannah.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I do plan to make a short contribution. Mr. Speaker, I rise to make a short contribution as the former Parliamentary Secretary for Social Development. I was pleased to support the former Minister, Andre Ebanks, on the developments of this significant enhancement to our older persons legislation. These proposed amendments were the result of over 2 years of policy development, broad and extensive stakeholder consultation, working in close cooperation with our Older Persons Council, chaired by former MP, Ms. Lucille Seymour, who I'm happy to say is back in the halls of Parliament with us today. Thank you, Ms. Lucille, for being here. The hardworking staff of the ministry, led by Chief Officer Tamara Ebanks, in coordination with the hardworking staff of the Department of Children and Family Service, led by Mrs. Paulinda Mendoza Williams. And of course, as with all of our bills, none of this would be possible without the expert assistance of the legal drafting team. Mr. Speaker, this group of vulnerable people, our seniors, is a group that is near and dear to my heart. Anyone who knows me knows that I have invested a significant amount of time making sure the people that help build this country are treated with dignity and appreciation in their later years. From what I gather from the Deputy Premier, Minister of Social Development's presentation of the bill, the government supports this bill. I'm talking about the now Deputy Premier and Minister of Social Development. The government supports this bill, and I thank them for bringing the former minister's excellent work to assist the seniors in our community. I'm proud to support the proposed amendments which help improve the lives of our seniors, in particular as the bill introduces safeguards and protections against neglect and abuse, creates for the first time an older persons tribunal which will hear and determine complaints and specifics that there has to be, and specifies that there has to be a department dedicated to the older persons in the future. Mr. Speaker, and I'm just going to emphasize what the bill on the green section of the green bill states in regards to abuse and neglect of older persons. And this is under Part 4A, Notification and Investigation of Abuse or Neglect. 17D, number 1 says, a person shall not abuse or neglect an older person. 2, a person commits an offense if that person is in a position of trust in relation to an older person and engages in abuse or neglect against the older person. 3, a person who contravenes subsection 2 is liable on A, summary conviction, or B, conviction on indictment, to imprisonment for a term of 12 years. That's what the bill entails. Mr. Speaker, I hope people understand what this means now, and I trust that those who are looking after elderly will take heed to this. Mr. Speaker, thank you. Thanks to the Minister, former Minister Andre Ebanks, Minister of West Bay South, and this is the kind of thoughtful, consultative policy work that shows the country we put Caymanians first. I now thank the new Deputy Premier and Minister of Social Development for his commitment to this bill. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Does any other member wish to speak? Does any other member wish to speak? Does any other member wish to speak? If no other member, the Honourable Member for West Bay South.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to support the Older Persons Bill 2024. Mr. Speaker, this bill, the Children Amendment Bill, and the Adoption Bill are significant enhancements in our country's social development framework. I acknowledge the government and the responsible minister recognized this and presented these bills in this meeting for debate, and I thank them for it. The consultations were indeed extensive and painstaking. As the responsible minister at the time, I knew that this work would not be easy. As the current responsible minister states in his presentation of the bill, it was part of a cohesive strategy to modernize and bolster social development for key vulnerable groups in this country. When we embarked on this journey for this bill and the others part of this meeting in 2021, we identified that there is a list of social development issues in this country were accelerating in size and complexity in a very alarming and unhealthy rate. Some of the key issues we identified before we began to plan enhancements was on our analysis, most of the legal frameworks were woefully out of date. In some cases, no material enhancement had been endeavored or completed since the 60s, or woefully inadequate to meet current challenges and enforce actions. Staff complements in all of the key departments and compensation had not kept pace as these jobs got more and more strenuous, staff burnt out, the need for specialists, because I'm glad Ms. Polinda Mendoza is here, because social workers are one of the most underrated professions, not just in this country, but the world over. You see them every day, and you don't necessarily appreciate all that they do, but if they were gone tomorrow, you would notice immediately. The U.S. National Association of Social Workers indicates that the proper ratio, depending on client needs, is most commonly 1 social worker to 20 cases. At the time that we took office over in 2021, that ratio was almost triple in the Cayman Islands. We therefore had to dedicate and align the 22-23 budget to try to get a bite out of that. Because we all, as MPs, face the situation where you want the staff to go out into the community. We all see those. but they're spread way too thin. They can't get to everything. So I was grateful at the time that we prepared the 22-23 budget. We increased the head count to try to bring that number at least, I think the average mean now is 1 to 40 cases, to bring that number down. Increase the staffing and the support for the social workers. They may be on different pages now, but the former Premier, Wayne Panton, and the former, I guess we could call it DP1, DP2, DP3, DP4, DP1 will remember that when we were preparing the budget and the cuts were coming in the rounds and the months leading up to the budget, that I asked specifically for the wage workers in our care homes to be converted to salary workers. These are the people who are looking after our seniors and hadn't got an increase in years, and we're working on hourly wages. And I remember saying, DP1, I know you got to make the numbers. I know Premier 1, you got to make the numbers. But these are the people caring for our most vulnerable, and this is how much we're paying them, peanuts? How are we going to convince anybody else to do these jobs? And so said, so done. They got converted. We know that they have to go back out into the districts. So that's why we had to retool the OPAC center that was centered in town with resources, but we have to get the social workers back out into the communities. Because as said many times in this debate, they're not necessarily coming out to a center place. They need to be cared for in the community. We also knew that each of the departments lacked data and stats to track who is poor, which constituency, what are the demographics, what are the trends. So yes, we had to invest in technology. And yes, that meant the constituency office would have to be trained on the new technology so we could get that data to find out who exactly needs the most help where, and by how much. The steep increase of mental health issues places a whole other range of complexity on the social workers. It's not the average case that they're used to that they can study. We knew that we had to have enhancements to the disabilities legislation. I don't know what happened. The ministry tried their best to engage with the Disabilities Council, but their proposed enhancements did not come forward, even though we tried. But maybe they will come forward in the next administration, because we know that they need assistance. And we know a very large topic has never been addressed in the country. And that is the social work term of adult safeguarding. The person who's above 18 and hasn't reached 65 yet, where we do not have support interventions for adults in that age group. So yes, again, we as MPs, as the leader of the opposition says, that is a gap, but it has never been tackled. That is going to require a whole other set of frameworks, a whole set of legislation, a whole set of budget, but it needs to happen. We knew that there was growing homelessness, but we needed to be able to have, as the DP said in his remarks, back when he was in the opposition and I was a civil servant, government housing. The only difference of opinion at the time that we had then is the suggestion of having just not 1 or 2 compounds, but dispersed housing throughout the community, because these are complex cases with different social and mental challenges. Sociological studies show they can't just be all in one place. So yes, there can be policy directives that encapsulate the issue, but not just to do more research, because we have a housing crisis in the country for our seniors. They can't be moved to a hotel. So yes, I've done it as DCO on behalf of the Speaker when he was the Premier, to call a hotel and say, you need emergency help. One-off is gonna happen when that call is placed. It's gonna they're gonna respond to me, a hotel one-off, as me as the former DP. If the Minister of Tourism and the current DP calls, a hotel may bend. But there isn't, at that time, a stock of hotels that could be relied on at the drop of a hat to consistently take homelessness cases. And even if they do, that could only be short-term, because we need government transitional homes. The senior care homes are busting at the seams. The John Silver's property that the member for West Bay West, we've already examined that. That had a whole range of challenges in terms of who was in there, is it livable? We've evaluated it. It has the space for 2 properties. But what we haven't really seemed to get an answer on is utilizing that Crown land, because we don't have the funding of who we can partner with to be able to lease the Crown land for a peppercorn and work with a partner who can build the homes at an affordable cost. That's the work that can still be done. The community's already been canvassed. Several of my constituency meetings, they can see the need and are fine with it. Birch Tree Hill property, same thing. It's been cleared. Crown land is there. It'll be adjoining a preschool. Perfect for some sort of senior centers that could match with the preschool kids, because you can't have challenging social cases next to a preschool. And even at that, the ministry team will remember, and advising the current DP now, that we looked at, we can't wait, and some of these costs are astronomical, but what about modular homes? There's a Caymanian right now that the ministry team that was working with who prepares modular homes in other countries and hasn't done it here because can't get an answer from the planning department or the right requirements to put down a modular home. A Caymanian right now, doing it elsewhere. Every time the engagement happens, there's never a clear answer of how you can build a modular home that would cut the cost so we can have the housing stock for the seniors. If there definitely is overflow from the Pines and Golden Age. These innovative ideas need to be explored now because we don't have limitless budget. So the bottom line, when we were taking a step back, is that the conclusion is inescapable. We have not prioritized social development and invested heavily administration from administration to administration. And if we only take bite-sized bits, that's where we end up. To use the quote from the member of West Bay West, it's the bastard child. And then here we are with the rate in which Caymanian status is being granted. They're now becoming citizens, and a majority of them are going to be on their way to being older persons. So now they're ahead of the queue. The population is about to explode. And no one last night from the government side actually articulated a position next to that motion. So we're now approving citizens that are going to get older and add to the pipeline, and then still expect the departments at their current staffing rates to service everybody? That doesn't make sense. That doesn't compute. So here we are, doing the best that we can with what we have. We took a step back and said, look, adult safeguarding, given the budget constraints, given the prioritization, not going to happen. So let's do what we can with what we have. Let's work with the Older Persons Council, create a legal steering committee, have broad consultation, and at least give the Older Persons Act teeth. The same thing in children. The same thing for adoption. Because we can't rest on our laurels, we have to do something. These are significant updates. Put into the legislation in Clause 3 is the definition of economic abuse. Because we know that our seniors are not just abused physically, which is in the definitions, but economically. The deceiving of an older person in order to access the older person's economic and financial resources. Hugely harmful, never been tackled in the country's history. This is cutting edge for what we have to deal with. Unreasonable deprivation of economic and financial resources which an older person requires out of necessity. Behavior which is intended to exercise coercive control over, exploit, or limit an older person's economic and financial resources. Physical or emotional abuse is now defined in the bill. Includes any verbal or nonverbal act that undermines the older person's sense of dignity or self-worth or threatens the older person's psychological well-being. We've now given the department the powers to formally investigate. Another wall to climb over is the cooperation with the department. Because many times the department calls knocking an NPO, a private entity, a public authority, and can't get the information that they need in order to help the senior. Those walls have to come down. Time is of the essence when you're dealing with a senior. That's the very nature of it. They got less time than we do.
Honorable member, unless you're nearing the end of your speech, I'm proposing to take the luncheon adjournment now.
I'm not near the end, so if you're hungry, sir, proceed.
Well, I'm not sure about hunger, but other things. So we'll take the luncheon adjournment and resume at 2:15.